John Kvale, and this is our December financial planning podcast capital market review. And since we've got a lot of things that come out, I'll have the December and then the January newsletter. We'll move through this and make it pretty straightforward. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is those that are listening in podcast mode. I'm going to a link in this post that is really interesting, and it's called Staying Invisible on the Internet. It's from Visual Capitalists. It's super, super long, so I didn't post it. I didn't put it in this post. And I say here the chart is huge, noting how many different ways we can be tracked. I know it doesn't bother me personally, but I know it does bother some folks, and so I thought it was worth posting. And there are, like I said, just a ton of different ways that you can disconnect yourself and not be tracked on the internet, so stay invisible. All right, the elephant in the room, capital market comments. So those that are listening, I've got a S&P 500 graph that's up through basically the end of the year, and I am looking at going through right at this point is the January run up, and then we had a nice move back down. I say nice, we had a move back down at the end of January, and then we bounced up and tested it again in February, March timeframe, and we're off to the races. Now this time was a little bit different in that we did have a move down about 8 to 10%. We bounced around here, and instead of going back up, we made another move down. What's interesting about this move down is really there's no decrease in earnings. We've got tariff talks, we've got a closure of the government, but we don't have any major movement in earnings, which are the ultimate driver of stock prices. Now, another thing that is interesting, I point out later in this post, is this move happened in very dramatic fashion. Actually, this move did as well, and this is a more normal recovery when you have a very dramatic fashion. So if we're talking about the elephant in the room, is are we going into a 7, 8, 9 type of thing? The prior chart of those of you that were listening or watching was a one-day chart. This is a 8-day chart. So this 7, 8, 9 took almost a year to get to occur. This move going back to last year, this took a few weeks. Why is that important? Well, frequently, historically, when you have such a fast move, I'm going back and forth for those of you that are listening to toggling to the 1-year chart and then the 7, 8, 9-year chart. When you have such a fast move, it looks more like this than it does something like this long bear market. What am I saying? Bottom line, when we have a quick move like this, it is the market's throwing a hissy fit. They're trying to predict whether there's some sort of slowness that is going on. We don't know right now. We don't see it. We see a little bit of weakness out of China, but and the ripple effects of that, but nothing that's like earth-shattering at this point. Now, one last thing that all of you that are listening that have endured this now, this bounce here that we have, I'm talking about the bounce for those of you that are listening right around the end of December. It's very unlikely that we'll just bounce and go back off to the races. Moving back to our January, March scenario, almost inevitably you have this come back and test and see. We came back and tested this and failed it and dropped down. So we'll probably start another wiggle, and it may be a few months to a quarter or two before we get our footing under it. A lot of things could change. We could have tariff talks simmer down. We could have the government's non-closure. But anyway, just wanted to mention that, give you our candid view on this, what's going on. At the very end of this, I said, let's all buckle up and be thankful we never drive fast. Time will tell. And I say drive fast because we've seen this after doing this for 30 years. We've seen this occur. We haven't seen it in the last 10 years, but we knew it can. This looks more like an 87 type of move or even a 91 type of move. But time will tell. Thanks. This got a little bit longer than I thought it would, but thank you. And we'll talk to you again in January with new intro music. And have a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you.